Palossand has got to be one of the most forgotten Pokemon in general, and especially on the competitive side of things. But today, I'm going to try to make it surprise some people. So this big beautiful sandcastle is a ghost ground type, and its stats are straight up bad. It's got some physical defense and special attack, but even its exclusive ability water compaction is mid as hell. This raises its defense by 2 stages if it's hit by a water move, but by then it's usually too late anyway. And I think they should definitely buff this to give it like an immunity to water on the first hit or something. Game Freak, just do my boy some justice, please. But anyway, here's what we're gonna do. We can potentially use a ghost type curse, which at the cost of half of our HP, stabs the opponent at the end of each turn for a quarter of its health. We can use Shore Up to heal back up, and then we can even bust out Terra Fairy to help us out defensively. But more importantly, the type change now allows us to use Curse again, but this time grab an attack and defense boost. If positioned in front of some physical attackers, we can continue to Curse and heal back up with Shore Up, and then it's time for some solid damage with dual stab options in Earthquake, along with Poltergeist. I think Palossand is just really cool, so it's time to see if we can get it to pop off a little bit. Look, the main thing is everybody's confident until you get a little bit of sand in your eyes, and Palossand is kind of the king of that. So today we're gonna make this thing go crazy. Also, shout out to Peachy for requesting this one, and let this be known, if you request something enough, there's a really good chance that I'll get it going, especially if it's something I like Palossand. This thing's shiny, is sick as hell, and it never gets enough love. So hey, if this sounds like a fun one to you, consider hitting that subscribe button. It's free, it only takes you a second. You probably won't regret it, and with that, let's jump into the match. Alright, so my opponent decides to lead off with the regular Tusks, and expecting that, I've got myself a Gastrodon who's a pretty fit fellow for the job. We're representing the east side, and while we threaten this thing with a Surf, I figure they might just switch, so I'm going to set up my Stealth Rock here. Also a good chance they set up the rocks of their own, but instead, they go for the knockoff. Now that's going to get rid of my Rocky Helmet, but not before they take a little bit of chip from that, which is great, because now that busts this thing's sturdy ability, and I get up my Stealth Rock. So I'm just over here glistening in the sunlight, chilling in the plaza, feeling like it's a pretty good time to just go ahead and flood this bitch. I'm gonna go right for the Surf here. If they want to switch, that's fine. Turns out though, they stay in. They want to set up their own Stealth Rock, and that feels pretty good because now I can rub my weird little slug hands together and grab myself a big old Surf, and that is gonna end up knocking the thing out. We take care of the Donphan for free. I guess not free, but mostly free, and that's great because now that's a big defensive wall out of the way. But now as they decide to go into the Archaludon, this is also a big other thick guy to deal with. Now, from Team Preview, Gastrodon, it looks really nice against their entire squad. So I'm going to try to capitalize on that and get as much damage as I can. And they realize that they are in danger to an Earth Power here. So they're going to go for the Terra Grass. Luckily, at least not going to be Terra Flying, so I will get a little bit of chip here. But the Terra Grass is fine. It's going to force the Terra early, which always feels good. I'll have the upper hand on the kind of Terra initiative there. They go for a body press. Doesn't do anything. This Gastrodon is built at like a damn brick wall. So as I hit it with the Earth Power, it, doesn't do anything. Does give it a sturdy boost, which is fine. So now they decide to go for the Flash Cannon. A resisted Flash Cannon hitting me on the special side does a little bit more. But for the most part, Gastrodon is proven to be a pretty big problem. Now, unfortunately for me, I do not have Recover. So as I'm slowly getting chipped down here, I decide to set up some spikes. I figure, honestly, the spikes is going to help me more out in the long run than anything else. So now they end up pulling out the Draco Meteor, which does have enough to finish me off, and that is kind of fine. So here's the thing. Looking at what I've got, I'm feeling like it's a decent opportunity to set up Porygon 2. I'm feeling like Body Press probably does about half, and if I can come in, immediately get a special attack boost, and then potentially, go for a Trick Room and then start to stack up Charge Beams, we're going to be in a good spot. Now, Body Press is what I'm worried about here, but again, I'm feeling like it probably does about half to me. As they go for it, it does do about half, but it's kind of a little bit too much damage there. I kind of forgot that I did touch the thing, so it does have 1 stamina defensive boost, which is why it does do a little bit more. But as I set up a Trick Room, I'm going to try to see if we can get the Porygon 2 going. Now, I can go for a Recover just to kind of scout. They might expect me to go for a defensive Terra through that Body Press, and I think that's what happens. Look, they go for the Flash Cannon, and since they especially went for the Draco Meteor, it doesn't do anything to the Duck. We're in a good spot with that. Now it allows me a free turn to go for a Tri-Attack, and while we do not get any of the status, we do get some nice chip with that. Now it does give it another stamina boost. So I'm realizing I'm kind of hoed by a Body Press, but they stay in and just go for another Flash Cannon for some reason. Maybe they're just afraid of me going for a Terra. Anyway, I'm going to take advantage of that, going for another Tri-Attack, going to finish off the Archaludon. So, Buddy should have probably gone for the Body Press there. But hey, we come out on top we only got the one boost from the download. So while this Porygon 2 can get schmovin', you should definitely check out my Porygon 2 video. It's a fun one. But at this point, now they can bring in the Umbreon. If you were wondering if there was any more thick fellas left, they do still have the Umbreon. This thing is able to just take special attacks all day long. But look, I'm able to go for a Charge Beam. Unfortunately, I do not get the 70% chance for the boost there. But as they go for the Wish, honestly, Porygon 2 kind of thrives in situations like this. Against guys that don't really have much offensive power, and they're more leaning on the defensive side, I try to take advantage of that by just going for as many Charge Beams as I can. Now, I am worried about this thing having Toxic, but it turns out as they go for the Foul Play, they probably are not working with it. I can set back up my Trick Room, and my legs are spinning all crazy. Dude, Porygon 2, this thing's an interesting fella, because I have the Recover, I can get all that health back, I can continue to spam Charge Beams, and hope I can get as many boosts as I can. And if I can somehow come out on top, they're gonna wish that they never hecked with this Porygon 2, man. With as many boosts as I can get, its special attack is very strong, and Tri attacks are gonna start to do damage. The obvious main thing is that this Umbreon is kind of an asshole. That's just what Umbreon does, man. It just doesn't die. Kind of like me, actually. I go for another Charge Beam, do get the special attack boost, which is sick. And as they continue to Foul Play, that's not doing anything, but it's great for me because it just reveals they don't have the Toxic. They can continue to get wishes all day long. But again, my main strat here is to just go for tons of Charge Beams. Now, as I also end up busting out the Recover here, that's when they probably realize that this Umbreon is not going to really get anywhere without Toxic. So they go for it again. I'm above half, absolutely chilling, and as I fire off another Charge Beam, I'm getting lucky on this not missing. I get another boost, but as you can tell, it's not doing any damage. That's because, yeah, it's a base 50 attack there. But here they end up busting out the Baton Pass, which is definitely not something I expected. But it works out relatively nice for them because check it out. They're able to now get a free switch into the Hisuian Arcanine. And not only that, but, I mean, first of all, it comes in and gets absolutely destroyed by some hazards. But they make the right play on coming in on the turn where the Trick Room goes away. And now I am in danger because they can outspeed. They go for a close combat, and at this health, yeah, that's gonna take care of the Rubber Ducky. So Porygon 2 almost got going. It was almost this guy's day. If you want to see more of this Porygon 2, I recommend you check out the Porygon 2 video. It's a fun time. But the game goes on. At this point, looking at this Arcanine, I'm thinking one thing, and one thing only. It is now Sandcastle time, and I bet you're going to be thinking, wow, I'm so glad there's not any sand in my eyes. Well, guess what? In comes the Pocket Sand. We're looking menacing, and this is a perfect mon to switch this in on. Because first of all, a lot of the time Arcanine's going to be Scarfed. It's kind of, or at least Choice, so it's probably kind of in a situation where they're forced to switch. So guess what? I'm going to pull up the straight up just raw dog ghost type curse because I'm feeling like they probably go back into the Umbreon, and that's exactly what happens. They go right back into the Umbreon, who feels like it has a good matchup, but as it takes a bunch from the hazards, I'm going to just stab myself with a Spike, which is honestly pretty damn brutal, and might just be one of the first times I've used curse as a ghost type in a competitive match like ever. And that is fantastic because while, you know, it does cost half of my HP, which sucks, I get a little bit of leftovers back and we're feeling pretty nice. But not only that, every single turn, Buddy's going to take a stake to his face. And that is honestly the best situation versus an Umbreon. This thing comes in, it prides itself on being bulky and staying alive, but that amount of HP it takes is going to be totally worth the half that I give up for it, because I can just go ahead and get it all back with a shore up. Now also, I am kind of in danger of a foul play here, but I'm going to go for the Terra Fairy to be able to take that easily, and the Sandcastle going crazy out here. I also don't know if they want to even stay in with the Umbreon, realizing that they're cursed. Probably gonna have a bad time, but they do go for the foul play. Does nothing to me, which is great because of that Terra Fairy. I then bust out a shore up. We just soak up a bunch of sand. We just locked and loaded. The sand cannons are ready to go, and now we're just back at full HP pretty much after leftovers, which is amazing. One of my favorite parts about this thing is that being a ghost type, you can use curse as essentially 2 moves. Obviously, first of all, we get it against the Umbreon, but then I can, now since I'm Terra'd out of the ghost typing, I can just use curse to set myself up. So they continue to take some more damage from that. It's going to die from the next one, which is sick, because that gives me an opportunity to go for a free curse here. Now, check this out. They clicked Baton Pass here, which is an interesting play, because first of all, I actually don't know if this is how it's going to work out, but I'm pretty sure that passes the curse to whatever they Baton Pass to, and in comes the dead salmon. So look, they go right into Basculegion here. As I set up a curse, I now bring myself to +1 attack and defense, and this thing is just using curse in every which way possible. But the funniest thing is, they probably should not have Baton Passed there, and as they realize now, they've done hecked up, because I get myself some leftovers, I'm boosted up, basically full HP, But also, my theory was correct. They straight up baton passed the curse with it. And baton pass is only really worth it if you're slower in that situation. But they should not have gone for that, because now this freaking fish is cursed. And they're like, the hell is this sandcastle doing to me? Not only that, but check this out. They go for the flip turn, wanting to be able to pivot the hell out of here. But that activates my water compaction ability, giving me a +2 defense boost. And this has got to be the most all-time little sequence of turns Palossand may have ever had in its damn life. But not only that, they go in Regieleki here, and I am just mashing Earthquake for damage, because I'm like, you know what, whatever, I'm set up at this point. I go for the Earthquake, and they brought in the wrong thing, dude. They're having literally the worst time against this Palossand, but my dude is getting straight up roasted and toasted by a sandcastle. They should have certainly saved that Regieleki for like not hard switching, because that was the only way to meaningfully hit me on the special side, and that's the only way now you're gonna get through the sandcastle, is hitting me with a special attack. But knowing the reason why I tried to set this thing up is because I knew that Regieleki was like the only thing that could do it. And now they're, I'm not gonna lie, kind of hoed. They go Arcanine here. Hisuian Arcanine hits hard, goes for head smash, doesn't do much. Shout out to the water compaction. I can then fire off another Earthquake. That's gonna kill. That's gonna take care of the Arcanine, and we truly could not have found a better situation for Palossand. And this thing deserves it. It's not easy to set this up, but there are certain situations where you can find that it is definitely worth it. So after some leftovers, we're also like back to half, and that feels pretty nice. I'm over here with a heart on my head, feeling adorable. They go back into the Umbreon, and that is gonna go down to the hazard. So shout out to the Spikes for coming in and grabbing that last little inch of health, and that is gonna be a knocked out Umbreon. So I mean, their final mon is gonna be the Basculegion. So it looks like the sandcastle is gonna be eating some sashimi today, because that thing has pretty much no way to knock me out here, especially being Terra Fairy. It can't use ghost coverage really, and it also comes in and gets a little chewed up by some hazards. All I gotta do is connect on an Earthquake. I think they actually just let the thing timer out. They click Aqua Jet, but that's fine. We live it easily. Well, one more water compaction for the road. Buddy is compact as hell at this point, and Earthquake is gonna be able to finish it off. And that is the end of the game. It was kind of a dream scenario for the Palossand, and honestly, I'm surprised that we were able to get all the stars to align for that one, but that was actually pretty damn interesting. So that's gonna do it for that game, and I had some fun with it. So that is now gonna bring us into match number 2, because we are not done playing with the sandcastle, and I wanna see if I can get it to do something without the help of crazy nonsense. So look, if you've stuck around this far into the video, first of all, I really appreciate you. It means a lot. But also, hey, hit that like button if you haven't already. It does help out the channel, and that'd be tight. So let's go ahead, let's jump into the next game. Alright, so in a fitting fashion, my opponent decides to lead off with the Pikachu. Now, as a Gastrodon, am I worried about a Grass Knot? Kinda, but also it's a Pikachu. So I'm like, you know what, this is fine. I'm gonna set up some Stealth Rock against it. Literally, why not? Now, it turns out they bust out the turn 1 Endeavor, and that is gonna set my HP to the amount that it has. And Gastrodon turns out to have twice as much HP as Pikachu, so that does half. We call that the Super Fang with extra steps. And as I get my Stealth Rock up, I'm like, well, I don't know what this thing really wants to do. But it turns out they click Quick Attack, which is gonna, first of all, take some Rocky Helmet chip from it. And as I set up some spikes, I'm trying to take advantage of the fact that this Pikachu is not really that threatening as a ground type. Volt Tackle is kind of the scariest thing it can do, but I figure it's probably something like it was probably Focus Sash with the Endeavor Quick Attack, but he's trying to pull out the Fear strats, and I will not be feared by a mouse today. So I'm now going to decide to switch into Palossand. Reason for that is because, look, if I know it's an Endeavor set, it can't go for that, obviously being a normal move. It can't Quick Attack, it can't go for any electric coverage. It can't even really surf. It's going to give me a water compaction there, and it can't really do too much. So I decide, Palossand, guess what, baby? It's time to, as much as I love to be able to set up a regular curse, I realize it's probably in my best interest to start boosting up my stats here rather than pull out the stake. So as they switch into Blissey, they probably expect me to be firing off special attacks, because that's kind of what this thing does, at least a little bit better in terms of stats. But young Egg Mother is in for a rude awakening, because I go for the Terra Fairy, which is now going to allow me to use Curse in kind of its more intended fashion, and I'm boosting up some attack and defense, and I am going to start hitting stuff on the physical side. And honestly, just one Curse, we're feeling pretty solid here. Obviously, we're in danger of special attacks, but at full HP, we should be able to at least take something and then fire off some pretty hard-hitting Stab Earthquake. So Blissey is a little cut up from some hazards, so it does have a little leftovers over there. But again, Blissey can't do anything to me, so I am going to take advantage of the fact that this Blissey is not scary, and I can go for a second Curse because I'm going to get a little greedy now. It turns out they go for an Ice Beam just to kind of probably scout out damage on the special side. Blissey's not really generally known for hitting stuff hard though, so that Ice Beam doesn't do anything, especially because it's no longer, you know, super effective. Thank God at least it doesn't freeze me, and here's the thing. The main reason why I'm trying to set up the curses a little crazy here is because they do not have much to touch me on the special side, so I'm going to fully try to exploit that, and that's the plan. So at this point in the match, the main things that I'm worried about is going to be the floor just being able to hit me relatively hard on the special side, and then maybe even like a special Lucario. That could be bad, especially since I'm now, you know, fairy typing. So as I go for the Earthquake, turns out they're going to swap right into the Flower. Floor just comes in. This is one of their 2 potential hard-hitting special attackers against me. As I go for the Earthquake, they hard switched into the wrong Sandcastle today. The Quake is going to be able to take care of it with our doubled attack stat. That base 75 does go a long way when, you know, you doubled it. So that's pretty damn satisfying, because after some leftovers, I'm back to full. And I did not expect this Palossand to get set up this damn early. So we're going to see how far we can take it, as now they decide to bring in the Jump Bluff. So it comes in, takes some considerable damage from the Stealth Rock, obviously. And at this point, I don't exactly know what it wants to do. It could... I'm kind of fearing something like an Encore, but I'm going to go for the Poltergeist here. It turns out they bust out the Terra Flying. I guess, I assume, maybe just to boost up some flying damage. But they put the balloons on the head. Thing is feeling extra lightweight, but it turns out to go for the Leech Seed, which is definitely one way to make this thing at least a little bit more hindered from stealing some health from me every turn. But as I go for the Poltergeist, at +2, a stab Poltergeist is going to knock it out. So the Terra Flying does literally nothing, and down goes the Jump Bluff. And just like that again, this Palossand I expected to not be able to set up easily, but it's finding itself in situations where I'm like, is this thing even a Sandcastle? I'm feeling like it may actually be based off of a goat, because Buddy's kind of the goat. Palossand is sick. So while we are leech seeded now, that's fine. It obviously it fainted there, so it doesn't take any health from me. And now in comes the Mousehold. So look, Mousehold, as a fairy type Sandcastle, it can't really touch me, especially with 2 curses. A population bomb's not even gonna really scratch. So they decide to go for the Tidy Up, thinking that they need to obviously boost. It does at least get rid of the hazards on their end, which is helpful. But sadly for them, the hazards already did its job in breaking a potential Focus Sash. So now, as I just go for an Earthquake, this little mouse family has now just been devastated by a natural disaster, and that is kind of sad, but that's going to take care of that Disney-ass character Pokemon. And Palossand is truly found itself, I don't know how the hell it's found itself in this position, but regardless, now they go Lucario. If this thing has Flash Cannon, it's going to hurt, but I should be able to take at least one of them, which is incredibly satisfying. It does turn out, however, to be a physical Lucario, so even with a Meteor Mash, while that does do a little bit of chip, doesn't do much. Shout out to the 2 curses, and as they get the attack boost, they can enjoy that in hell, because the Earthquake just straight up knocks it out, and yeah. So they've pretty much found themselves fully victimized to the Sandcastle here, and after leftovers, again, I'm like fully healthy. They only have 2 Mons left. It's going to be Blissey along with the Pikachu, and they go Blissey first. Now this thing is, you know, we've seen, if it's Ice Beam is its only coverage, or like something like Seismic Toss, that's fine. It goes for a Calm Mind to try to set up here a little bit, but yeah, once again, you can enjoy that boost in the Shadow Realm with your buddy Lucario, because an Earthquake with the 2 curses is, I don't care how much HP you got. There is Scrambled Egg all over the damn place. This battlefield's going to need a damn janitor, and that's going to knock out the Blissey. Final Mon is just going to be the Pikachu, which is I honestly imagine that this Palossand generally comes in and it's going to be able to maybe set up in the face of something, but and get like a kill or 2. But it turns out, with enough determination, you can find matches where it does go crazy. So Pikachu, being the final Mon, comes in, goes for an Endeavor, and that does the most damage it was able to do to me in the entire game, which is satisfying. Shout out to the Pikachu. But an Earthquake knocks it out, and that's going to be the end of game number 2. So again, just another goofy game here. I'm finding myself in these weird matches where I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Palossand, go crazy, and freaking guy deserves it, especially on the beach there. So that's going to be the end of game number 2, and I do have one more bonus match, because we're just new boot goofing. You're messing around with the Sandcastle today, and so you know what? Why not bust out a 3rd one? And let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so this time from Team Preview, I'm seeing a Donphan. So guess what? My ass is leading with Gastrodon, and we are met with the Don. So at this point, obviously Donphan does one of 2 things. Either he goes for a Stealth Rock or it switches out, and they opt for the Stealth Rock this time, which is fine. I decide to set up rocks on my own. We're out here comparing sizes as ground types, and Gastrodon's gonna have the upper hand. Mine just a little bit bigger. Size, it doesn't matter though, it's just mostly how you use it. So this thing can, of course, Rapid Spin if it decides to. If it wants to Rapid Spin here, I know that it's going to take Rocky Helmet Chip and then just die to a Surf, so I'm fine with that. They do go for the Rapid Spin, which is sweet, and that is perfect. So they get bopped a little bit by the helmet. No more Sturdy for you, Mr. Fan. And while my Stealth Rock does go away, that is definitely a trade-off I'm willing to make, because now a Surf just knocks it out, as we've seen before. And I can also just set it back up my rocks if need be. Now, they do in fact have a good answer to the Gastrodon in the form of a Sceptile, so I fully expect, you know, to be met by the grass type here. One blade of grass and I am dead, fully allergic. So they do go Sceptile here. Obviously I've got to switch. Don't know exactly what this thing wants to do. So I decided to go into the Magnezone. I am Assault Vest on this thing, hoping that they're going to be going for some type of special coverage. I bring in the Magnezone saying, how the hell is it going out here? I get a little bit of Stealth Rock, which is fine. But as they go for the Leaf Blade, now I do resist that. But they get a critical hit with it. And if it's going to be a physical Sceptile, that means that they have Earthquake, and I don't really have anything to switch into that, so I decide, you know what, Magnezone, your time is up. Go ahead and good match, buddy. They go for the Earthquake. That is going to finish off the zone, and you know, that's tough. Sometimes you got to do it to him, but what that is going to do is now open the door to try to get something going. I don't want to go into Palossand quite yet, and I don't really want to try to commit that Terra, but I also realized that maybe, just maybe, this Porygon 2 can come in and get a little something going. So as I do come in, I get a download boost. It's going to be attack, which sucks. I mean, generally already sets you up on like a bad spot for this thing, but they're going to end up swapping. They decide to go Salamence here. Salamence is going to come in, intimidates away my needless attack boost, but they must have Balls of Steel because every Porygon 2 in the world, other than this one that I'm running, has Ice Beam, like 99% of the time. So I'm expecting this thing to probably go for a Terra. I'm just going to click the Charge Beam because that's what this thing does, of course. But it turns out they just Dragon Dance right in the face of me, which is like, all right, buddy is fully invested in the fat dragon at this point. Now, as I go for the Charge Beam, gonna do some nice chip, but also I do get the special attack boost, which is great. And now I am in a spot where another one's gonna be able to knock it out. I'm also feeling like I have the chance to be able to set up Trick Room on whatever their revenge switch-in might be. So I go for the Charge Beam here, as I do get a critical hit to knock it out. That gives me another special attack boost. And here's the thing. Now, I know while this baits in something like the Heracross to close combat, I fully thought that this was my Ghost Terra Porygon 2. So as they bring in the Heracross here, I'm like, this is fine. All I gotta do is go for the Ghost Terra, avoid that close combat. And then I realized that I, in fact, I'm Terra Normal on this thing, which is absolutely bust my ball. I've been switching around the Terras on the guy. Ghost Terra on Porygon 2 feels a little bit, like, not great because, you know, you obviously are like a lure to knockoffs, but in that situation, it would have been real nice to have. So I'd fumble the bag with Porygon 2, which is fine because now guess what? Palossand comes in on another physical attacker to a point where I'm like, all right, I can surely get going against this thing, and you mainly got to look at what you're worried about in the back. In terms of threats that they might have for the Palossand, it's not looking like there's a whole lot. Now, I'm fully expecting the Heracross to get out of here, but I am going to go for the Terra Fairy here. That's in case they want to click something like Knockoff. Regardless, the Terra Fairy is also going to allow me to set up a boosting curse rather than the crazy ghost type spike to the face one. So I put the heart on my head. They stay in and go for a Mega Horn. For whatever reason, Mega Horn it's not going to do anything, obviously being fairy type, but that's fine. That allows me to set up essentially what is a free curse. And at this point, I'm feeling like they probably are going to try to stay in here and just get as much chip on the Palossand as they can. Because honestly, here's the thing. Nobody knows what the hell Palossand's going to do. And also people forget about its ability to just click Shore Up and get health back. So I'm going to continue to curse. I'm going to take advantage of this. And they stay in and go for another Mega Horn. It does satisfyingly go right through my sandcastle hole. Pause. But they connect on another one. I'm able to get up another curse. Now I'm sitting at about half HP. After leftovers, looking pretty healthy. But honestly, with two curses set up, now the main thing that I was worried about going for the Terra Fairy would be the Muck in the back. But now, I mean, with my defense doubled, a Poison Jab is no problem, plus I just threaten it with Earthquake. So, while I also don't really have much to touch this thing, at least now, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to click Shore Up. It brings me down to half with the Mega Horn, and in the most rude way possible, I go for the Shore Up and get myself all the way back to full. So, you know, they staying in and clicking Mega Horn. And I suppose I'm totally just going to take advantage of that. So I'm at full after leftovers. And now with all the boosts, I'm like, you know, Poltergeist surely is able to knock this thing out. And they do miss a Mega Horn. I was like, this thing hitting like crazy. But luckily it misses. I go for the Poltergeist. Turns out to be Rocky Helmet Heracross. My ass, I'm so confused on what the hell this Heracross was trying to do there. But regardless, it goes down. And I'm set up with I'm set up with a Palossand at a point where, while I am slower than everything, I can take an attack and deal with anything. So as they go Muck, they're down to 3 Mons left. First of all, Muck, it can really only Poison Jab, or at least that's the main thing I'm worried about. Also, the other main thing I'd be worried about is this. They go for the Toxic, which is unfortunate, but again, considering we've taken care of half the squad already, the Toxic probably isn't going to have a chance to stack up. Also, the fact that my Earthquake comes through, knocks it out immediately, down goes the Muck. Now they only have 2 physical attackers left, being the Sceptile and then a Hawlucha in the back. Hawlucha mainly being the thing that I'm worried about here. But I take a little bit of poison, and after some leftover, we're just glistening in the nighttime out here. But in comes the Sceptile. So we know that Sceptile, best thing it can do is probably Leaf Blade crit, for the most part. It can't really set up in the face of me. So I'm just going to go for the Poltergeist here. It turns out they are going to bust out the Terra. And there's not really a Terra that really affects my matchup here. I can just switch to Earthquake if it's anything crazy. It turns out to be Terra Water, which doesn't really change anything. But now it's got a Fountain on its head, and they've got 2 Mons left. So like, screw it, I'm clicking Terra. And they are also going to go for the Dragon Dance here. I kind of forget that Sceptile even learns Dragon Dance, but that's going to, you know, boost it up a little bit. But again, I'm already boosted on my defensive side, and I'm already just max HP, so it's like, I can take anything here. So as I go for the Poltergeist, it's going to mash it in the face with its own Focus Sash, which would have knocked it out. But sadly, it is going to still be able to use that Focus Sash to live with 1. And again, I'm literally, after leftover, I mean, a little bit hurt from the poison. Don't get me wrong, we're feeling a little bit shitty, but for the most part, we're fine. And also, I have like still a +1 differential on my boost here. So even a crit Leaf Blade probably won't be able to knock me out. They do go for the Leaf Blade here, slice and dice me up a little bit. That's fine. Does not crit. Luckily, we live it with half. And Earthquake is going to finish off the Sceptile. And now the final Mon is going to be Hawlucha, which could be a little bit of a problem considering after the poison is stacking up a little bit, and Hawlucha just in general is always a monster. But it's more than likely not going to be Focus Sash. And unless it's able to get up like a couple of Swords Dances, it could get a little out of hand. But in comes the Lucha. All I've got to do is connect on a Poltergeist, and hopefully we've got the game in the bag. I still have my defense boost, so it doesn't really have anything it can knock me out with here. They do go for the Swords Dance in hopes that maybe there's a shot. Maybe there's a shot with the latest game sweeping Lucha of all time. I do go for the Poltergeist, smash in the face with its Citrus Berry. There's now Berry Juice covering the entire schoolyard. And that is going to be the end of the game. So Palossand found itself in some positions against some questionable nonsense where it was able to show off what it can potentially do. So that's going to be the end of that one. I was just mostly goofing around to some weird battles, but more of the story is those happen a lot. And anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I have a whole lot of fun with this, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.